light for you in dark places when all other lights go out.
Hey guys, it's DCHL Devin here. Welcome to another episode of A Light in the Dark. And today I wanted to talk to you about a bit of Nova news, plus get back on track of answering some of the questions that we have on our channel. If you guys have been asking questions, I actually am still responding to you even if I don't post a video about it. I'm just responding to you in the comments section or emailing you personally. So, but just to get these questions in, because it's nice to always have multiple different forums to get, I guess, more discussion in the community. Let's go ahead and get into it. So before we start the questions though, I just wanted to talk about a little bit of news regarding Nova, and a question I actually have for you guys. So we are going to do something special at Nova where every single table at Nova for the grand tournament and the doubles will all be themed around a location in Middle Earth. So what do I mean by this? This means that essentially one table will be the Shire, one table will be Moria, one table will be Khazad-dûm, one table will be Lothlorien, one table will be, Gondor and Mordor and all of that, everything. So, and this is going to be for all 30 tables that we have. As you know, we have 60 players attending, so 30 tables being for that. Now, the thing is, we're ramping up a lot of terrain in order to make these things all different, very unique locations and stuff like that. And even more to the point, just in case you guys are wondering, yes, they will be symmetrical. Every table will have an even number of line of sight blocking terrain, difficult terrain, flat terrain that is difficult. Every single table will still be symmetrical, but have that theme of the unique location in Middle Earth. Just to give a nice fluff and everything that we like about Lord of the Rings to the tournament. It's always nice to stay rooted in Lord of the Rings, even despite you're playing in a competitive event. So the big question to you guys is, what terrain would you like to see at Nova? Where location would you like to fight in? So we already have a running list of what we already decided amongst Harad, and we even have like Forachel, which is the ice lakes up in the north, Angmar, stuff like that. But if you guys have any special suggestions, let us know. You might end up seeing it at Nova and on the tables, and it would be awesome to be able to just play in the unique locations all over Middle Earth. So that's the first thing regarding Nova. And the second thing I wanted to ask you guys about, there is an idea that we have regarding a trivia tournament that's sort of intertwined into Nova. The trivia tournament, essentially after the end of each round of Nova Open, whether it's a doubles or a battle companies or GT or the Middle Earth's Deadliest Heroes, at the end of every single round, every player is basically given a question which they have to answer essentially on the fly, right in front of me. And if you answer it correctly, you get put into a pool of points, which essentially allows at the end of the convention for you to have yet another prize. So this is actually just a cool thing for non-competitive players who, once again, rooted back toward Tolkien and Middle Earth, for us to, have a type of competition where it's not really so game-oriented. All right, if you guys know, we have the bracket prizes at Nova. Well, if you guys don't know, let me go ahead and explain that to you. This is actually meant to kind of tone down the overly competitive side of SBG sometimes. As you guys know, in most tournaments, you only get a first, second, and third place prize, and then maybe a last place prize, and participation awards of a century and whatever. But we do a couple special things in Nova. We do a favorite good army prize. We do a favorite evil army prize. Now, you guys know about this one. This one is one we actually are pretty famous for. But another one we're going to be doing is bracket prizes. So a bracket prize, essentially, in the first bracket is those who won all 4 games. All right, and then they're broken up that way. From the guys who won 4 games, they're broken up by victory points. And that is what determines who is first, second, and third. But then you have the second bracket, which is the people who've won 3 of their 4 games. And then the third bracket, whom won 2 of their 4 games. And then the final bracket, whom won 1 game of the 4. And then the victory points that they've earned pretty much decide their placement in their bracket. So therefore, even if you're not in the top running for a prize, even if you know you're coming to Nova and you're not going to win, you can always win within your bracket. Now, of course, the prizes scale down a little bit as they go through each bracket. Of course, the tournament GT champions should get the trophy from Shadow and Flame, from Yggdrasil Studios, from 4 Realms of Chaos, and many other expert painters. If you guys didn't know, those are the prizes, and that's just part of the prize. You actually get a little bit more to it than that, but yes, those are the prizes to the Nova Open. Really high quality display trophies with freehand, with like just tons of really nice artwork all over it, and placed, of course, on a display. And these are like the highest quality of miniatures. But we, of course, scale it down, the trophies and such, and the prizes that come with them as you go through the brackets. So not only do we have bracket prizes, but I wanted to make sure to get in the trivia prize, which is essentially for those lore fans of Middle-earth. See who can answer the most questions. They will be difficulties of easy and hard, kind of mixtured in between each tournament, depending on what round it is. So just another little fun, exciting thing. Let me know what your guys' thoughts on that, and of course, the thoughts on what terrain would you like to fight on in Middle-earth. So let me go ahead and get to the questions. We got the first one from Jericho Jackson. He says, hey, I'm looking to come to Nova as I might be in the USA around the time of that event. How do I pay to stay at the hotel of the convention, and how much does it cost? So actually, Jericho Jackson is a New Zealand Hobbit League participant, and he already has his ticket to Nova. Actually, this question was asked a little while ago, and he's already paid his way and coming to Nova, so we're happy to see a New Zealand participant. He's actually also going to Articon, so we'll be traveling with you there right from Nova. So it'll actually be a really cool experience. Of course, the two conventions are 2 months apart, so you know, there will be a little bit of that lag time, but how do you pay for the hotel? If you go on novaopen.com, they actually have reduced pricing for the hotels. They're $93 right now, but guys, they go up in price over time. So if you wait and wait and wait, you don't get them. Now remember, the hotels do not need to be paid for when you reserve it. You only pay for it when you arrive at the hotel, and it can be canceled up to 2 days beforehand. So there is no reason not to reserve your hotel if you are going to come, or if you're even thinking of coming. You should reserve a hotel room. You don't have to pay for it immediately. They just take your credit card. That's it. So not a problem at all. It's a pretty easy process. I'd highly recommend doing it. These prices are a bargain deal. Nova makes deals with the hotel to keep prices low. You may notice, and this is not a knock on things, but of course Justin Bieber being in an Articon area makes prices rise, but like normal hotel prices are around that 200-pound region that Articon has, but Nova, like I said, makes those deals to keep them really manageable, really cheap. So definitely recommend getting on that. Anyway, though, happy to see you when you get here, Jericho. I think it will be an awesome time, and we're definitely going to have a lot of nations represented, so I think this is going to be a really good first starter toward Articon. And so let's get to the next question from Al Wood. It says, Devin, I've been out of the loop for quite a while as things have kind of tailed off for me in Hobbit SBG. But with all the great news about the hobby and new year of tournaments, I have to get back into it. I've been catching up on DCHL vids, and I have to say I've missed you guys. If I may, you and Damien are producing a lot of stuff at the present. Listening to you again while painting, it's like having an old friend around a game or just discuss Tolkien Hobbit SBG. So please keep up the great work, and I hope to see you at Articon. Well, Alwood, I appreciate the support. Yes, we're actually trying to get back on track. We're posting a lot of videos. It's a little bit tough for us, but absolutely, I think us and the GBHL guys, and actually, if you don't know, we have even more hobby content than this. If you're looking for more Norwegian Viking from, I believe his name is Andreas, he is actually posting a lot of content from the Norwegian side of things. And Also, we have Blackfire Productions from the Canadian guys. They actually are producing content. They produce a little bit here and there. It's just more channels just to get that news out there and get all of the gaming that we love. But we love talking about it. And actually, it's kind of cool to meet the people we've been talking to for the past couple years. So it'll be really awesome. I would definitely be seeing you at Articon and hopefully the rest of the SBG world. So getting into it, it's actually, that's I think the best part about Articon, honestly, for me, is the fact that I'll be meeting all of you guys. So let's get to one of our last questions today. Jeremy Smith says, can the driver or hornblower lay down in the howdah? When measuring the rock range, bow or rock range, do you measure from the base or from the model in the howdah? Can the mummic attack trees, terrain, like ripping them out? All right, so excellent questions. So just to go for your first question, this is the hornblower or the driver laying down. No, there's actually a strict rule against laying down. You cannot lay down at all. So you can't protect the hornblower in that way, but what you can do is kind of stick them in the back of the howdah where normally they'll be pretty safe. And remember, they can move around in the howdah. So as men start to die, you can start to kind of move them so that way he's not in so much danger. Just to kind of give him out of range of bow fire. To get to the next part, where do you measure from? You actually measure from each model. Each model is considered independent from the mummikill. So you actually, I mean, wherever they are on the base of the mummic, that's where you come from. Now remember though, you ignore the howdah when determining your shots. You still need line of sight, but you don't like doing in the way for the howdah or anything. And the last thing, can the mummic attack trees, like ripping them out? This actually used to be a function where every single thing in Lord of the Rings had a defense and wounds, or batter points actually as they called it back in the day. But this is no longer the case. So mummikill actually have a severe weakness to trees and difficult terrain. They can't rip them out and you can't even go in them. It's a very serious problem for the mummic. A lot of players have difficulty with it, and in fact it's probably the main reason you don't see them in tournaments too often, which is kind of sad because they're actually extremely fun models to use. But anyway, let's go into the last question. Now this one is actually from the One Ring forums, and I picked this question because it actually has to tie in with Nova, and a very interesting question that's been asked around a lot after Nova was announced, which is from Kardouche. He says, what armies perform the best with no allies? I'm not sure who to take. I have Durin's Folk, Thranduil's Halls, and Mordor. Thanks for the advice. Now, to follow up with this, the reason that this question is relevant to Nova is because Nova restricts you to one faction. All right, so there's well, with exceptions, however. So some factions for good, most specifically, aren't as large as, say, Mordor, Fallen Realms, Moria, stuff like that. So they have an exception list that allows them to bring in, like, the Fellowship, the White Council, Wanderers of the Wild, those lists that obviously aren't armies and were intended to be just simply added into every list or used in scenarios. So it also keeps them balanced competitively. Arnor, like for example, really stands no chance as a faction on its own. However, once you add in Saruman the Wise and Galadriel, you start to really pump up their effectiveness against the Ringwraith-heavy armies of Mordor or the monster-heavy armies of Moria. So, what faction is the best? Now, I'm only going to use the examples you named. And the examples you named I expect to be the most popular. Why? Because they're the most popular in every single tournament. Doesn't matter if there is a comp, doesn't matter if it's the most restricted comp, they are the most popular, simply because they are so readily available and they're in the movies. But Durin's Folk, Thranduil's Halls, and Mordor. The obvious first choice is Mordor. They will probably be the easiest one for anyone to master. Now, don't be confused though, all right? The GBHL champions didn't even play Mordor lists, or actually one of them might have done an all-flying Fell Beast army, but I'm not sure. But I do know that Jay Clare for the GBHL played a Lake Town force, which is actually legal in Nova the way he built it. Also, our champions here for the DCHL actually play Azog's Hunters lists, they play Lake Town lists, and an Arnor list, or actually Shire, really, I should say. So none of them are Mordor. Although Mordor is pretty much one of those armies that I would expect to say that it's not broken, it's just so easy to make a really balanced competitive list from it, especially since Ringwraiths are the answer to everything. That being said, I'd actually challenge you to not play with Mordor. I actually would like to see a non-Mordor list being created. I think that would actually be pretty interesting to see. I think we're going to see probably, if I have to estimate, about like 1/5 of all the armies are going to be some breed of Mordor, whether it's Blackguard or Morannon or an Orc Horde or an all-flying Fell Beast list or something of that nature. So the one I'm going to tell you to stay away from, though, however, is Thranduil's Halls. As much as I'm tempted to see another list played, like a new style list like Thranduil's Halls, it is very difficult for a beginning player. Now, why do I say beginning player? He didn't mention this in the comment, but through the thread you could tell he's a new player who is looking to get into the game, or at least that's the impression I got. If I am wrong, then I'd absolutely say go for Thranduil's Halls. Thranduil's Halls is highly unforgiving of mistakes, but if you master them, you can do really, really good work with them. Still, I advise bringing in a magic user like Galadriel or Thranduil with the old version, or Saruman the Wise, something like that, Gandalf maybe. But otherwise, they're a very, very fun army to use. Of course, if you are a beginner, then I'd say Durin's Folk. I say Durin's Folk because they have a lot of new options out lately. They're very interesting, and I think they're the most forgiving. It's so hard to kill that when you make mistakes, you know you won't suffer too much of the consequences for those mistakes. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents on it. If you ask me what I'd bring to Nova, it'd be hobbits. So, but good luck collecting those. We actually have some guys bringing a Numenorian force, one bringing a Khandish force, one bringing, they're all over the place with what they're bringing. In fact, even one of the OSBGL members is thinking about bringing Smaug. Now, don't be alarmed by that. Smaug actually has a hard time winning in this type of event where you have to capture multiple objectives and have other events where you have to split up. But it is possible. We have strategized and theorized. It is possible to win with Smaug. I'd be interested to see if he actually brings that model. Anyway, guys, that is all it is for today. Thanks for watching. And once again, tell me in the comment section below, what terrain would you like to see at Nova? And what do you think of those other versions of prizes that we give out at Nova? So I hope to see you guys very soon.